today with Dr. Asia McCutchen. And I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I know that a lot of my audience are young people who are interested in science and doctor careers, and they not familiar with the term gastroenterologist. And you are a gastroenterologist.
Yes, and you did a great job of pronouncing that.
Thank you. And tell us a little bit about the responsibilities of a person in your field.
Okay, so a gastroenterologist is basically a specialist in internal medicine that specializes, though, in diseases that affect the gastrointestinal tract. So the gastrointestinal tract for us starts at the mouth and ends at the anus. So we deal with anything esophagus, which is your food pipe, stomach issues, stomach pain, stomach ulcers. We deal with the colon issues, diarrhea, rectal bleeding, colitis, Crohn's disease, colon cancers, and we also are liver specialists also. So hepatitis C, viral hepatitis, things that affect those organs.
Right. It sounds like a lot of information that you, a lot of things that you're working on. So I'm sure that it requires a lot of education, a lot of training.
Absolutely. So when people come to the specialist, when a patient is referred to the specialist, we are supposed to have the most knowledge about that particular organ. In other words, the primary care physician is beyond their level of expertise at this point. So with that, yes, there is a lot of training that's involved, and we also are procedure-based specialty, so it's about half procedures and half the practice of medicine from a clinical standpoint and actually kind of problem solving. And that's what I love about it, is actually combining medicine and surgery. That's why I actually chose this particular career. But to reach this point, I did, of course, high school, and then 4 years of college, and then another 4 years of medical school, which put me at 8. And then I did 3 years of internal medicine, which put me at 11, and then another 3 years of gastroenterology training specifically, which was very hands-on, and all of it was necessary. But to our young viewers, just let them know the time is going to pass anyway.
I agree.
So you do what you love.
So I can imagine that having to spend so much time in school, that could be rather expensive. But I'm sure that there are some programs that are available for young people who are interested in that field who may not have the finances.
Absolutely. So the beauty of our system, our education system, is that if you do well in high school, you typically can get some type of scholarship, and I always encourage my mentees to look very hard for those scholarships. And then in college, when you get ready to apply for med school, there's also often scholarships that are available. There's also need-based scholarships. There's sometimes a gap in what's available and what you need. But most of the time, if you're dedicated to whatever you're going to do, there's a way to bridge that gap. So there's plenty of programs out there to help students achieve their goals in medicine. There's also programs where if you commit, for example, to serving an underserved area, you can actually get a full ride. After you finish your training, you will go to an underserved area, say for like 3-4 years. These are National Health Corps programs, but they will pay for your education.
That's great.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Sounds great. I understand too that you have some young people that you work with, you mentor.
Yes. I think, one of the keys to life is understanding what you love and then applying what you love and kind of giving it away. And so that's basically, what we do in medicine. In medicine, we're educators also. And so we have to be able to educate our patients. We have to educate those around us so that they can understand what's happening. And one of the things that I think is important is to be able to give back and reach back, because somebody has to take my place. I mean, I can't do this forever. But to reach back and pull those up that are behind us that also want to go into this career and teach them how to be educators. So we have this saying in medicine, you see one, do one, teach one.
I like that. That sounds really nice, really good. Did you have any particular person who you consider a role model?
So when I was younger, I was blessed to have a grandfather that was one of the first professors, black professors at Ohio State, and he was a scientist by nature. So I remember us actually building what would be considered a microwave from scratch, and I would win all the science fairs, all the little science projects. I was always taking first place. And so he was pretty much my first mentor, but along the way, I essentially identified a role model that I just admired and adored, and it happened to be a hepatitis C researcher, which was part of the reason that I ended up in gastroenterology. And so at one point I said, you know what, this is too long, why don't I just go into pharmacy? And she said, you know what, you have been saying you wanted to be a doctor your whole life. Absolutely not. You come to my meetings and you meet these doctors that I work with because I think you fit right in. And she said, not everybody wants to or can become a doctor, but I think that you were blessed and gifted and this is your calling. And I agreed. And so Dr. Priscilla Oliver has been my mentor. And I think it's important, you know, there's lots of distractions. There's lots of stimulation around us. And so we can easily sort of talk ourselves out of things at times. But again, you know, I encourage people to really think about the future. You can live today to the fullest, absolutely. But always have, at the end of the day, your future in your mind. And never forget where you're going.
Very good advice. Thank you so much for that. I have been telling my guests that it's so important for them to drink lots of water, but I'm not really sure what is considered enough water.
Okay, that's a great question. So, enough water, at minimum, we have to consume 1,600 milliliters of water. And the reason for that is we have to be able to produce urine so that we can detoxify our body. We have to be able to sweat. And, you know, there are certain cellular processes that require water. We are, in fact, 60% water. But in general, the rule of thumb is to take your body weight in pounds. So say you're 100 pounds. You multiply your body weight by 2/3, and that's in ounces the amount of water that you need in ounces. So you're 100 pounds, you multiply that by 2/3, which is 200 over 3. And help me out here, I think that is about 70 or so. So about 70 ounces minimum for somebody that's 100 pounds. So it does vary a little bit based on your weight and also the condition that you're in. So if you are, say, in a very hot climate, you're going to sweat more and you're going to require more water than if you were in an average climate. Yeah. And then the same goes for if you're exercising or if you're sick and things like that. So you have to adjust based on that, which would require more than you would if you were otherwise sort of in an average situation.
Okay. I know that there are a lot of people who are spending extra money on purchasing alkaline water or alkali water. And I prefer spring water, but I don't know which bottled water I should be drinking. Does it really matter?
You know what? I think people spend a lot of money on a lot of unnecessary things that aren't necessarily proven to be true. So, you know, I believe in evidence-based medicine, and right now I don't think that the evidence is there to say that alkaline water, for example, is superior to your spring water that you like that's probably fortified with minerals and actually tastes decent. But I will tell you this, I'm not an expert in the water department, but the body is marvelously and magnificently made, and it has a great way of actually balancing itself out from a pH standpoint. So we all walk around with a certain pH in our body, and it's regulated, and it pretty much doesn't matter if we take in some apple cider vinegar or if we go drink, consume the most alkali plant there is. it's regulated. And there are certain areas in the body that need to be more acidic. So for example, the stomach acid has a critical role in killing off bacteria that we may have ingested, and also kind of making sure that we absorb iron and B12. All of those things are dependent on a certain pH in the stomach. That pH changes for certain proteins that are going to be released in the small intestines to assist us in digestion. When we're digesting our proteins and fats, we no longer need that acidic environment. We need a different pH. And so with that being said, I can't imagine that me taking in something with a pH of 7 versus a pH of 5 is going to really affect how my body is working. So I'm not sure that the alkaline water is as a great a benefit as touted.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sure that it has helped a lot of people who are spending
A
lots
lot
of
of
money.
A lot of
Yes.
money.
Thank you again for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
I really appreciate you.
Thank you.